Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis coming to the defense of the Minister of Health.
A shooting incident on Ida Street is the country's latest homicide. Find out which of the victim's family members was killed earlier this year.
Well, we've got details on 7 of those most wanted criminals.
Recovery efforts continue in North Andros more than a year after Hurricane Matthew.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vonique Tude. Topping news tonight, the Prime Minister coming to the defense of Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands amid claims he violated the Cabinet Minister's Code of Conduct by performing surgeries on Grand Bahama. The Prime Minister's Press Secretary Anthony Newbold during his weekly press briefing today said Dr. Hubert Minnis was appalled that the Health Minister would be criticized for saving lives. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
There are few specialists in the Bahamas and the region with the expertise, training, and experience that Dr. Sands holds.
The health minister's admission of performing surgeries in Grand Bahama did not come as a surprise to the Prime Minister, according to his press secretary, Anthony Newbold, who said the two spoke at length about the need for Sands to perform urgent and difficult surgeries on a voluntary basis.
Dr. Sands applied for and received permission from the Cabinet to perform life-saving procedures free of charge. I commend Dr. Sands for his devotion to the Ministry of Health and for his continuing commitment to the health of Bahamians and residents. He is an exemplary public servant. His willingness to freely donate his time and skills to ensure Bahamians receive the care that they need is a testament to his compassion and ethic of care.
On Monday, Sands says he does not apologize for performing the surgeries because he would never turn down the chance to save a life. Though the health minister explained that those surgeries were performed free of charge, the PLP chairman said he still wasn't satisfied. However, Minnis minced no words in defending his colleague in a strongly worded statement.
It is shameful and disgraceful, though no longer surprising, that the PLP and its belligerent and out-of-touch chairman would place political grandstanding and cheap shots ahead of saving lives. The PLP is more concerned with playing games and taking care of their own self-interest than it is with the needs of the Bahamian people.
That statement ended with the Prime Minister saying that the PLP leadership should donate more of its time and talent to volunteerism rather than seeking power at the expense of the Bahamian people. Reporting from the Office of the Prime Minister for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Bahamas Power and Light naming Whitney Hasty as its new Chief Executive Officer. Hasty, an engineer by profession, was appointed to the Board of Directors of BPL in July. He replaces Pamela Hill, who got the axe in August.
Well, first of all, let me just say thanks to the Board of Directors of BPL for the appointment. The time that I would have spent on the ground here in the last 3 months made me aware that the task is not unsurmountable. But it's a lot of work to be done. I think what
the power company also announced the appointment of Georgia-based Bahamian electrical engineer Christina Alston to the position of Chief Operating Officer. Her appointment takes effect next month.
Well, I think the most important thing is to address reliability. I think the expectation is that even though you have rural areas, there's still an expectation that the lights come on when you get home. And really look and benchmark what is happening to the system, when are we having outages, and what is the cause of those outages. That's not something that I've been able to look at because, of course, I just got on the island. But that's really going to be a focus. I think it's imperative that we provide reliable electricity.
And in other news, a young man was gunned down near his home on Ida Street last night. As Jared Higgs tells us, this isn't the first time that victim's family lost a loved one to gun violence.
As children played nearby, police say 2 gunmen traveling in a Honda opened fire on a man as he was standing outside his Ida Street home last evening. According to Senior Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean, the victim was transported to hospital where he died.
Sometime after 6, a male was in a yard in Ida Street when a black vehicle, Honda vehicle, pulled up. 2 persons alighted from the vehicle, opened fire on the victim, and the vehicle sped off. The victim was rushed to hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries.
Dean said the scene was like a mini war zone with bullets flying.
An indication from this crime scene tell us that there was a barrage of gunshots. You can see by the number of spent round bullets, casings on the ground. It tells us that this was a very serious matter. We are very concerned about this particular incident because a lot of young people were in this area. So it appeared a lot of shots were being fired in this area.
Police have not yet released the man's identity. However, our news understands he is Gregory Newbold. His brother, Benjamin Anderson, was reportedly killed this year, also on Ida Street. Police at the time described Anderson as a prolific offender.
We attempted to speak to the victim's family. They live right behind me in that blue house next to the car wash. Now, they were too grief-stricken to speak to us on camera, but family friend Karen Green says she's known the boys since they were young.
He ain't perfect, but he didn't deserve to die. You understand?
His brother, Benjamin.
His brother Benji also. Circumstances. Another one died. This mother had 5 children. And now this is the 4th hole she going to stand up over.
Green says she lived on Ida Street since she was 10 years old.
I had to come this morning. I had to hold my friend. It's my friend. You understand me? This ain't no easy pills to swallow. I say, I know you questioning God. She say, I think God forget me. But I know that there's a call on her life if she could only hearken to the call of the Lord.
Late last evening, police announced that they had a suspect in custody assisting them with their investigation. This killing follows a busy weekend for police with several shooting incidents and deaths in Grand Bahama and New Providence. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
And as the murder count hit 113 last night, police issued wanted posters for 7 suspects wanted for questioning in the investigations of some of the country's most recent murders. April Sands takes it from here.
As the murder count approaches record pace, police are on the hunt for 7 murder suspects, all of whom National Security Minister Marvin Dames pointed out are under age 40. Police issued wanted posters for 28-year-old Alfred George, 25-year-old Perry Pickering, 33-year-old George Seymour, a juvenile male from Ida Street, 23-year-old Leonardo Simonet, 31-year-old Tico Amar Lightborn, a.k.a. Pitbull, and 32-year-old Dwight Morrison, a.k.a. Kitty.
We have warrant out for 7 persons for murders, and the oldest one in that group is 38 years of age. So these are our children that we're dealing with, all right? One of the most recent matters, the individual was in custody, okay? Was in custody, was released, and within minutes or hours, he went and committed a homicide and was tracked and arrested almost immediately.
113 people have been murdered in the Bahamas so far this year, already surpassing last year's murder count of 111. The murder record of 146 was set in 2015. This same time in 2015, there were 118 murders. Dames admitted that crime is a complex issue, but suggested that more people were killed before May when the general election was held than after.
This year started off very tough. Within the first 4 months of this year, from January to April, we had 58 homicides. 58 homicides, okay? So now we're going on 6 months. If you go let's say post-May to now, which is close to 6 months, we had 54. So within the first 4 months of this year, we had 58, all right? So if you compare the first 4 months with the last 6 months, you can see it's not a meaningful decline, but there's some inroads being made.
The National Security Minister applauded police for their work in recent months. When asked about how the role closed-circuit television is playing in the fight against crime, Dames revealed that 100 of the 243 cameras that were first positioned in areas considered to be crime hotspots are down due to bandwidth problems.
We have made some very positive step forward in terms of improving the system and the capabilities of the system, so I'm extremely happy with that. It was not good going in. The quality of the images that we're working on, because we had a bandwidth issue that has been plaguing the system for some time now, but I've been assured from my meeting with the service provider as well as BTC that they should have that problem rectified in short order.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
More than a year after Hurricane Matthew devastated North Andros, rubble still lines the streets, tarps still cover dozens of roofs, and flattened foundations are left to mark where homes once stood. The families that once lived there are still homeless and left to rely on the kindness of others for shelter. Jasmine Brown visited that island today and has residents' heartfelt stories in this report.
More than a year after Hurricane Matthew, the story is still pretty much the same here in Low Sound, Andros, where homes look like this one, with its wall still pushed in and its roof still damaged.
Yes, a lot of work to be done in Andros. A lot.
Last October, Hurricane Matthew hit Andros as a Category 3 storm, with wind speeds of up to 125 miles per hour. The hurricane devastated several communities in Andros, but Low Sound was the hardest hit. Our news visited that community 2 days after the storm with then Prime Minister Perry Christie and a delegation of cabinet ministers and NEMA officials. This was Low Sound then, and this is Low Sound now. The water has receded and the debris has been cleared, but almost every home is still in some state of disrepair. Rochelle Dawkins' family home was leveled, forcing her family of 11 to take up temporary housing after being assisted by social services for several months. They are now a family of 10. Their mother died shortly after the storm. Dawkins now takes care of her 3 special needs siblings as they try to look for a permanent home. It seems like there's a lot on your plate.
It is. My advice to anybody is just know that there's nothing God can't do, and you just deal with it one day at a time. That's the only thing. Because if you try to think about down the road or whatever, it could be a bit frustrating. So you just have to deal with it one day at a time.
Dawkins is not the only Low Sound resident whose home was badly damaged. Andy Evans moved back into what was left of his home 2 months ago. It is barely livable by any standard, but he showed us his makeshift bedroom. So you sleep right. It's only you're the only person.
Yes, yeah, my daughter does live up the road.
And even though your home is still in this state, why did you decide to come back?
Well, I had no other choice because the place was going to have me and my time run out, so I had to move. So I had to come right back here, no other choice.
There's no running water, is there electricity, anything like that?
No, I used to use current before the hurricane, and used to, my people pump when I want water.
While they struggle to put their lives back together, they are haunted by the fear that they have been placed on the back burner. That fear was prompted after Hurricane Irma impacted some islands in the southern Bahamas, including Reagan Island, that was deemed unlivable. They hope their plight is not forgotten by this administration.
That's our greatest fear. You know, it's like on to the next one. And Low Sound was a lively community. And we know that the southern Bahamas got hit recently. And so we are concerned that, the government will not look at Low Sound.
Despite the previous government borrowing $150 million after Matthew, many of the residents say they have seen little relief offered from the former Christie administration or the National Emergency Management Agency.
The governing of a country is the responsibility of persons we elect to manage our business. It's the business of the people. And if they take care of the business, if this was taken care of and it was supposed to have been taken care of when they borrowed the money, this would not have been an issue today. All the houses that are missing out of Low Sound, see all these clear spaces, the houses are missing. So if they had done due diligence, this would not be an issue today.
The plight of Low Sound residents was highlighted by North Andros and the Barry Islands MP Carlton Bowleg in Parliament last week. Today he pleaded with the government for help.
Nothing has been done. So we need to try and find relief for the people. We're looking for people to donate whatever they can. We don't want to really depend on government, but we're looking at government at one point to step in and really say this is something that they're going to do to help or to give us some idea of assistance.
Now, despite this being one of the toughest times faced by the community, Bowleg and the residents say they may be down, but they are not out. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Still to come on our news, another contender emerges in the PLP's chairmanship race, plus the Prime Minister's warning to law ministers, so stay tuned.